That's different than Tanto Nomini. That is the dip with a catch. Yeah. The capital letters, they're different. That's definitely not Fast Abdul.
You may notice some changes. I've been taking a lot of testosterone injections. Respect to my jawline and my facial hair. My voice is a little deeper. It's working out great.
Okay. You've got the sunglasses there.
Always.
Love it.
Classic look.
Oh, shout out Dip Catcher. If hope you're out there flexing the net hard or enjoying yourself, whatever you're doing out there. Sure, if you're around, you'd stop by and talk about your product, bro. That's okay. We can do it. We can do it for you.
You would be a good guy to do that.
Yeah.
Second best. There is no second best. There's only Fast Abdul. There is no second best. You can be 1.5 best. Let's do it. Gents, what the hell is Maximus? Where do we want to start for this? I think I'll bring up PLS charts. It's probably a good site for that.
Yeah. Maximus, man. Don't know about you guys, but kind of love those tokens. I mean, I was, before I started working on pulse charts, I was low-key obsessed with those tokens for a good 2 years. Still am, but yeah.
Lots of games to play.
Indeed.
Yeah, this is a good one. We can see the balances on here. I use this one.
Yep. Yeah, this one's not bad. I know the dev is.
Dev been cooking. Dev hard. I remember the original version. The original version was fine too. But this dude, you went hard in the layout and with the colors and stuff. It looks really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that globe that you see spinning there. It has
16 hours.
Well, I built these visualizations using a library called 3JS, and that globe is for base, which has 369 dots on it, and so it's like a visualization of the base stake.
Wow.
And I have one for each of them. So I have the Maxi one, and if you go, maybe we should give the people an overview of what we're talking about.
Okay.
But basically,
that's a good idea.
I guess I can do it. There are these pooled stake tokens, kind of like ERC20 tokens, PRC20 tokens, just like, PLSX, right? Which have contracts behind them where people put in liquid HEX, and they were kind of pulled together, just like if you pull an Uber, with 2 other people, you all get in. And the idea behind it is that, like in the same way that you share an Uber, you kind of all stake together in one massive stake, and you save on the end stake gas fee, which was really, high at times, getting up to like $500 to end stake. And the main kind of benefit of pooling stakes like this was that you would just pay that $500 end stake gas fee once, and it's like infinitely, kind of infinitely scalable. You could have like 100,000 people in that stake, and they wouldn't have to pay that $500. So that's kind of the main thing. There's like a bunch of tokens of different lengths. The main kind of branded one is the Maxi stake, which is the max length stake of 5,555 days, which you can kind of see at the top there in blue and yellow. And then you have different length ones, and they had different amounts that were staked. Deci was like a monster with, close to 600 million HEX originally staked. And yeah, they've already been going for 3 years. Base has already completed twice, and it's nearly coming up to end its 3rd round. Trio is about to end its 1st round. You can see it's like 95% done. And the way that I discovered these tokens, maybe I can just dip in here, is like, I didn't even come for the gas fee savings. I came for like the degenerate arbitrage opportunity that emerged when PulseChain launched. So you can kind of see in that column there the price in HEX, and Deci is 0.8, which is ridiculous considering it should be at least worth 1 HEX, because at the beginning people traded 1 HEX for 1 Deci, and now it's worth less than that 3 years later. So, and the actual value is 1.6 or something.
Why is that too? I think that's always a question of like, how are these ever at a discount? Is it liquidity? Is it people just don't, it's Maxi launched 3 years ago.
Shorter term thinking, right? Like that's DeFi is a 10-year stake, right? So you have to be prepared to, prepared to hold that for 10 years if you want to cash in on the staking value. One point I think it's really important to talk on here is I like to describe these as liquid staking tokens. So it's staked HEX. We have 15 years, 10 years, 7 years, 3 years, and 1 year staked HEX with these tokens. But they're always liquid. You could sell them if you want to, which is not the case if you've staked your HEX for 15 years. So there's no emergency end stake option, anything like that. But you have a different form of HEX, tokenized stakes that are liquid 100% of the time. Now the amount of liquidity may vary. That's one of the issues they have. But as far as your ability to click the sell button, you can do it whenever you want. So I think that affects the price of some of them at different times. We can see, though, at the bottom of the chart, base and particularly trio. Trio's at 1.46 HEX per trio. Why do we think that is, guys? Why is trio winning right now?
What you got, Gita?
It's worth 1.43, and it's nearly gonna be done.
That's right.
Yay.
There we go. So we got October. Let's see. I took a note here. October 12th. The trio 3-year HEX stake of 70 million HEX will come due. Right. So
what does that? Just recap. What does that mean when it comes to like what can people you talk about? Because when these things came out, you can trade you put in the HEX, you get back the tokens for liquidity, and then when the stake ends, you can then take those tokens and mint your HEX back plus the yield share the pool that you have of the tokens, correct?
Plus the Hedron, I think. If one of you guys could verify that, that'd be great.
Hedron for the perpetuals, yes, not for Maxi.
Everyone except for Maxi, right?
Yeah.
You have I think it's a 7-day window at the end of the staking period, right? So it'd be on Trio. I think it'd be the 12th to the 19th of October. You can claim that stake. If you don't claim it, nothing really terrible happens. When you claim it, the Trio token gets burned, and in return, you get, the underlying staked HEX and the yield on that. But if you don't, then it just rolls over into a new stake, which is why these ones are called perpetuals, which is not the case for the first one. The Maxi token is not a perpetual. It's just a single 15-year stake.
Yeah, so it will just end and you need to claim it. Or...
Not today's problem, though, right? Like it'll end in a bunch of days.
Yep.
Though we can see that there is a premium, and I think there's pretty much always been a premium on the Maxi token. So there must be a segment of the community that looks at the Maximus DAO token, the 15-year stake, with 294 million HEX in it, which is more than most people could do by themselves. That's like $30 million at today's price or something like that. Is that high? Maybe I'm off. No, it's like $3 million at today's price. And then you get all the benefits of that. So obviously there is a disparity between the 15-year community and the 10-year community, because DeFi has been on discount a lot. But I think you're right. There is a deal. There's a long-term arbitrage there.
Yeah, and the arbitrage specifically that I'm talking about. Maybe I can share my screen, Max, because I can show more charts which you can't see. Look into Maxi. Which one is it? This one. Okay, yeah. So the discounts that we're talking about, the best way of visualizing it is like this. So this is like the chart that I really wanted to get when I first heard about these tokens, which is like I always heard people speak about the fact that they had two prices, couldn't quite get my head around it until I kind of put this chart together in Excel, Google Sheets, and then now it's on this front end. But basically you have people speculating on the value of the hex stake itself. And at the beginning, it starts at, kind of 1, should be 1. Starts at 1, and then it goes up over time based on the amount of daily yield that you get from the stake. And we can kind of see the hex rate cut here as it flattens out. But the line in the color is the market price. And as Fast is kind of like explaining, depending on sentiment, like people can be selling more than they're buying, or they're just bearish on hex staking, or whatever the reason is. And we've actually seen a big delta between the market price and the backing value. So you can kind of see right now, DESI is at about a 0.81 when it should be valued at 1.8. And when I say should be valued, that's really up for discussion because you can't end the stake yet. So it's up in the air of what the value is. Some people say that, but that's kind of like pricing in the early end stake penalty, right? Like that's actually pretty generous. If you were to do a normal stake and take into account the early end stake penalty, you'll see it will nuke it. Like if it's just 3 years in out of 10 years. So yeah, these are kind of like the visualizations, and you can see Maxi, as you were mentioning, Fast, it was like tracking at a premium or like pretty close to the backing value, like 1.7 for a while, and then just like drifting away now. And it's been like sub 1 hex as well for P Maxi. You can look at P Lucky, discount, P Trio, pretty much a discount for its entire lifespan, but as you were kind of talking about, it's really closed that gap now that the stake is coming to an end. Base as well, that gap is closing. And then some of the Ethereum ones are less liquid, so we have like gaps in the price history. But yeah,
these are all on Ethereum as well as PulseChain. They all got copied over. They're all before the fork, as well as ETH and ETH Fair, if you want to get into the dirt. But I'm bullish on these on Ethereum and PulseChain for sure.
Yeah,
especially when you have like a date, like you have a date on the calendar, like you literally have dates. Like we have October for Trio is when it ends. Like you can do the math, and or somebody else has probably already done the math and figure out what the value is, right? And then after that, 2029 for the 7-year one for Lucky, 2032 is DESI. So it won't be a added discount in 2032. I think I can guarantee that. And then 2037 is the max length Maxi token. So it's a different way to hex stake.
The market can stay irrational longer than you stay solvent. Fast, you never know. People just throw away money sometimes.
Yeah, and that's where the opportunity is here, right? Because with staked hex, like natively staked hex, like the only real option they have is to emergency end stake. At which point, they lose a bunch of their yield, potentially their principal, depending on when they do it. Whereas with this, they can just sell, right? So that you're going to see those arbitrage opportunities, and they won't necessarily be rational, right? Which is great if you are rational and you're looking at these. If I saw a Trio for the same price as Hex, I would probably buy that today. That's just me.
Got a question here. What is the security on these projects? What are the pros and cons concerning security? Yeah, what comes to mind when you all think about? Is it just smart contract risk? Like, what are some of the things people should know about any derivatives bid on Hex for these?
I'm pretty sure these are immutable smart contracts, right? So you do have additional smart contract risk, but it's not, it's not. You don't have like founder risk or that sort of thing, right? Like nobody's got their hands in the cookie jar. So it's similar to like you have contract risk with Hex, I suppose, right? Though it's proven. This is slightly less proven, but it's been around for a while, and they've already had some cycles that have completed. Like you guys mentioned, the base tokens already rolled over and it worked, right? So we're gonna have the Trio one come up in October. I suspect it's gonna work, and if those work, there's no reason that the other ones aren't gonna work just fine as well. So it's they're gonna keep going and doing what they do. I don't think anybody can ever turn them off. The perpetuals, anyway, everything except for Maxi is going to keep restaking because they'll never be 100% of the people who claim within the 7-day claim period. People will choose not to. They'll be providing liquidity or doing something else, which is something we should touch on, or they'll forget, right? And those tokens will be perpetual, and new people will come in. Like when we see in October, when the trio stake is up, there'll be a minting period, which I want to say is 14 days, where people can mint new trio, right? And there'll be a new trio stake. Am I right on that 14-day minting period? Does that sound familiar?
I believe it is 14 days for Trio, Lucky, and Desi.
Right.
Yes, because they're longer, and I think the idea was to give you more time to be able to claim. And then base is 7 because it's 14 days would be kind of like too long, for its length.
Yeah, it's losing a week out of a year, right? Whereas 2 weeks out of 3 years or 10 years potentially is not as big a deal.
All right.
Yeah.
But during that period, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw new higher totals for Trio in the next Trio stake. It may well be bigger than it is right now. So, and I believe with HEX there is a bigger pays better component that could be maxed.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I got distracted for a moment. I was like, "What? What does the Perpetuals remind me of?" It always reminds me of that Marvel movie, The Eternals. Like, is that movie called The Perpetuals? Why do I keep associating that with it? It's like a terrible. And I was like, I don't. Yeah, so it doesn't need to be associated with it because it's not a great movie. But I keep thinking Perpetual. I keep thinking of, oh, that's the Marvel movie that I didn't watch because it looks stupid. So there you go. Anyways. Go ahead. This is a very cool globe. I love globes. Ever since GoPulse had the validated globe thing, I think globes. We're in globe season right now. It's really catching on. Very hot right now. Very cool. What is this globe? What does it say?
This is, like I said, this has 5,555 dots. Each dot represents a day, and it's basically a sped up version. If you look at the stats panel, it's a sped up version of each day that has passed so far in the Maximus, the Maxi stake, which is that blue and yellow token that you saw. And it just ticks up day 20, day 30, day 40. And you can also see how much one Maxi is worth in HEX terms. And that's ticking up every day because it's a HEX stake and it's, the yield is being accrued. So and I have one for each of these. So this is kind of a cool visualization of what's going on, right, with these tokens. Music, but there's cool music you can.
I was like, did I click a button? What happened?
you can run this. I've had this playing in the background at times.
Nice. Dude, yeah, this is making. I mean, I really like the visualizations. I like all these pieces because it makes it fun. It makes it like less. I mean, again, I'm the nerdy one. I like all the technical stuff. I love digging into it. But imagine a lot of people out there. They're like, "Oh, this is cool." They're like, get the people going with the exciting like globes and spheres and all this stuff. So I love seeing these type of things.
Like the first time I came across these products, this sphere kind of was in my head because it was just like it's this thing. Like this circle where everyone's putting HEX into it. And it's just like this massive mass of HEX that's slowly kind of almost growing and just can't be stopped. And I don't know. Like I fell in love with HEX and then I fell in love with these products and just building, cool sites, cool stats. Like there's just so much to be excited about in HEX. And like I just love it so much. So
is it literally just price been down? Like, is it? I feel like the whole exciting thing. I have not lost any interest or excitement in HEX this whole bear market because I always liked it. I think it was amazing. I like all the products, all these different products built on it. The mission, of course, the Richard and all that stuff too. But it's like how is this lost on people? How is this not like one of the greatest things you ever seen? And how is the sky the limit? How is not the sky the limit for this ecosystem? Like, what am I missing?
I don't know. I think it's partially to do with the fact that a lot of hexagons, even, they don't understand how hex works, because there's a lot to be excited with hex. Like it's the monetization of time, which is just incredible. And these tokens, they add a new layer of complexity onto it, where you have now two prices, where people are speculating on that value over time. So it's kind of like a bond market forming. So for me, it's just like really interesting. The more that I learn about, studying these products made me really understand hex deeply, and realize like, wow, okay, this is how the T-share rate ratchets up. Wow, okay, this is how the daily payout is kind of calculated. And I'd really encourage people to look into these products. They kind of like force you to try and understand hex a bit better.
There's cool stuff about them too. Like we already talked about the arbitrage opportunity, but one of the things I really like is the liquidity providing opportunity. So you have in these tokens things that are hex equivalents, right? And obviously track the price of hex very closely. There's variance when we get close to the stakes ending and starting and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, like these should be worth at least one hex. So there's liquidity providing options on PulseChain where you compare Maxi, Deci, Lucky, etc. against Hex, right, or other things that are Hex equivalents like the Actuator HTT tokens. And there are farms representing those, and they generally pay more than Hex staking, right? So you can have Hex paired against Hex, making fees in Hex, and then getting paid in a reward token on top of that, right? Which is pretty cool. As far as the liquidity for these tokens, it's relatively low. If you look on Dex Screener, you won't see the whole picture though. You have to look on Gecko Terminal because a lot of the liquidity is on the Flux exchange on the Pulse chain, right? So it just doesn't show up on Dex Screener, but it does show up on Gecko Terminal. And there's pools where all of these tokens are paired against each other along with Hex, right? So there's opportunity to make fees in Hex basically, as well as additional reward tokens on top.
I think the liquidity providing is super interesting point too, of people selling it, people buying it. You're getting fees. A lot of times maybe people dump them because, this is that other Hex thing. And you're sitting there collecting these things, which again can be redeemed in the future with the yield and all that stuff. So I think that's a probably underrated strategy that came across.
If you're in liquidity, right? Like let's say you were providing liquidity for the main pool on Fox that has all the Maximus DAO tokens paired against each other in Hex. And then one of them dumps, right? So for whatever reason, someone decided to sell their Lucky early and dump the Lucky chart, right? That means in your liquidity token, you've now acquired more Lucky tokens at the sacrifice of the other tokens in the pair, right? And if you pull that liquidity, you get to keep those tokens. So if you're a liquidity provider and you see an irrational dump on one of these tokens, you have the option to pull your liquidity to capitalize on someone else's irrational emotions, and have the token that was undervalued in a larger percentage of that LP. And then you can wait for it to go back up and then put the LP back in, right? Which often happens, very, very quickly with these tokens, I've noticed. But yeah, like somebody exiting sometimes, makes a red candle on just one of them. And if you're in the LP pair with all of them, you're going to have way more of the one that's undervalued, because that's how LP works.
The prices do track pretty close to one another. So if you are in that kind of basket of all of these tokens on Fux, then you don't see too much of a deviation. So it's pretty safely kind of like tracking the Hex price. But at the same time, I want to get your guys' take on the discount, because at one point, Deci was at a massive discount, but Maxi wasn't. So it was kind of, in terms of APY back in the day, you were getting like 40, 50% sometimes when you bought Deci, but then Maxi, you're getting like maybe 20, 25. So kind of shorter, but it was like really interesting dynamics where, you could unlock 5 years.
Future APY though, right?
No, like kind of, I don't know how you would say it, but like not annualized, but like discount adjusted APY. So because of the discount, you were getting a higher APY. So the underlying HEX in DESI, I believe, it's not anymore, around 30%. But yeah, that's been cut now. But instead of 30%, you were getting 40, 50% because of the discount. You see how that works? Because instead of buying kind of the fair value and then continuing the HEX stake to completion, you were buying, imagine DESI was 90% discounted to its backing, like 0.1 HEX. That's going to jump up all the way at the end to whatever it ends up being, 3 or 4 HEX, right? And so you're making like serious APY, like 100% a year or whatever.
I guess this is the question. If I like, what is DESI is about, what, 7 years out? 2032?
About that.
So if I want to make a 7-year HEX stake, I was like, that was on my staking ladder. I'm going to make a 7-year HEX stake. What makes more sense, like financially? Do I buy DESI tokens or do I stake my HEX for 7 years? What has better math?
I mean, almost like, apart from the additional contract risk, like guaranteed buying DESI and Maxi. So
with maybe, I could only think of a couple exceptions, right? One would be that I'm staking, $3 million, $5 million worth of HEX myself. Then maybe it's redundant. The other would be that, like, again, the same thing, that I'm trying to do $3 million, so I'd need to buy up $3 million with the DESI, which would obviously explode the price, and then the math may not work out. So yeah, it's, unless you're a mega whale, the math is good.
I just wanted to see a god candle for DESI. Off the charts, $3 million going to DESI. I could imagine. Wow.
I don't think we'll see a god candle for DESI. I think what we'll see is it will tick up and up and up, as we get closer to that 10 years, right? But it only takes like one true believer who wants, $1 million worth, because like the math on it being $1 million undervalued, at some point, I'm sure that's going to be real. It may be real already. Actually, it almost certainly is.
So with DESI's kind of interesting if we're talking about liquidity, because there's a pretty big player that has a sell side V3 liquidity pool on 9mm.
Nice. Right. Okay. So you can buy up a lot of it probably then, eh?
Yeah, like right at 1 HEX. So, do with that information what you will. I have done the whole V3 play before, where I've set buy orders at discounts, and it's worked pretty well for me. You can catch some of those discounts. It's just you kind of it has to stay at a discount for a day or two, because I'm not at my computer the whole day. And then also there has to be like higher trading volume. It's not just the liquidity. If there was like a lot of trades going back and forth and we were really seeing like volatility on this stuff, then it would be like really good for single-sided buys. But
make volume great again. Let's do it. All right, guys. Crispy's in the green room. He's itching to get into laddering, all the ladders, all the cool stuff. Really good conversation. I like this. It's one of my favorite panels so far. Very, very cool. Everyone in the chat should be very educated on the Maximus token at this point now.
Yeah, check out liquidity providing, guys. Low and permanent loss liquidity providing at this point, and what I think is the bull market. That's the play, in my opinion. Right? If you can win on every side because you're making the fees, but you're not, you still have HEX in the end in one shape or form or another. It's a pretty good win.
You can find out a lot more about liquidity providing as well on gorealdefi.com. Go down to the navigation panel here and click. I say that, and then where is it? Is it? I thought I had it under farming. Oh yeah, there we go. Farming. Click farming. The little carrot there. Cute little carrot. I like those emojis. Proud of those emojis. Good emojis. Click that, and you can see a bunch of different videos from on my channel, as well as many other channels about farming and liquidity providing. A bunch of in-depth AMAs. I'm sure you'd at least Fast is on some of these somewhere, I think, as well. Could be a lot of Sloth too. Sloth did a whole channel. I just added.
Sloth's ones are really good because he covers everything. He covers like the high end to the low end of liquidity providing and farming. He covers the Flux Exchange, V3, PulseX, of course. So I like his.
Really good.